everybody, Ron Wildman in on Middle Georgia Spotlight. Today we have a special guest, and very special indeed. We all are special guests, but this one in particular very easily could not have been here today. Shelly Berryhill, he's a Hawkinsville City Commissioner, but he just survived a bout with CV-19.
Toward the end of March, I was diagnosed. I was the first confirmed case in Pulaski County and the first patient at Taylor Regional with COVID. And I didn't think I was that sick at the time, but my oxygen levels were dropping and I had COVID pneumonia in both lungs, and the Taylor Regional told me they were going to take me to, they were going to intubate me and transfer me to the Coliseum Hospital here in Macon. And they did. And what I thought was the next day, I woke up. Well, it turns out it was about 30-something days later. I had been intubated for 20-something days and still heavily sedated for about another 10 days. So about 30 days had passed, and I thought it was the next morning. I looked down, I couldn't talk because of a trach, but I looked down at my knuckles and they were bloody scars. And I got the nurse's attention. I'm like, what's this? And she explained to me I'd been intubated and I had seizures, and they had to strap me down, and that's where my knuckles against the straps.
Well, going back to the beginning, when did you first realize you had something? Did you have a sore throat or watery eyes, or?
I did. I had a slight sore throat. I had flu-like body aches, and just didn't, a slight temperature. Didn't feel great, but I was not coughing. I didn't feel terrible. I just thought I had the flu. And I went to our urgent care and tested negative for the flu. They sent me to Dublin to be COVID tested, and that came back positive.
This was very early in the whole situation.
Very early. It was mid-March.
Mid-March. Mm-hmm. And what did Dublin do?
Well, they just sent back my positive test, but I was still home. I called my family doctor, and he put me on the hydroxychloroquine, AZ pack, and zinc. And I stayed at home 2 or 3 days, but I felt dehydrated. And so that's why I called back to the urgent care and said, I just think I need an IV. And they said, well, come on into the hospital. And they admitted me into the hospital at that point. And the hospital, they were calm, cool, collected. Now, as they're rolling me down the hallway, everybody already knew I had COVID. It was like Moses parting the Red Sea, people getting out of my way. But they put me in a room and everybody was calm. And then they did a chest x-ray and everything changed. That apparently panicked.
Was this at Taylor?
At Taylor Regional. And they told me then they were going to intubate me, and the next day they took me to Coliseum.
And you were there almost a month?
I was there for about 40-something days.
Oh, 40-some days.
Yeah, well, about 40 days. 20 intubated and another 10 to 12 coming off some of the drugs.
What's the last thing you remember before you went under?
I remember Deborah Ross Maddock, who is a nurse there at Taylor, coming at me with an oxygen mask, and I'm thinking this is the last thing I'm ever going to see. I really thought it was.
It was that bad?
I just had heard about COVID.
Well, we all thought everything was fatal with that
thing. And I had a bad
case.
case.
Yeah.
When I got home, the CEO of Coliseum called me, which I thought was incredibly nice. He called, he said, I'm just checking on you. But he also told me, he said, you were the worst case we had, and yet you made it. He said, you gave our healthcare workers hope, which I thought was extremely nice of him to do.
And they had other cases that they lost?
Yeah, they lost. He said, everybody around you, we lost.
Oh my goodness.
So it was, I'm not sure exactly why the Lord brought me through it, but he did. And I'm very thankful. The doctors had called my family on about 3 different occasions and told them I wasn't going to make it through the night. My lungs had quit working and my kidneys were shutting down, and they did not paint a pretty picture, but the Lord's got other plans. So
well, you know, your church,
with Broad Street Baptist.
Broad Street Baptist is the reason, you know, that everything was secretive in those days. Nobody knew who had it, and nobody wanted to tell who had it. A lot of the hospitals didn't get any information, but your church was trying to round up a few people to pray for you.
They were. This all started because my wife was getting phone calls and texts asking about me. Word travels fast. And
in Hawkinsville.
In Hawkinsville. Talkinsville, we call it sometimes. And Bonnie called our pastor, Jeff Waters, and said, I don't know how to handle all this. I can't do anything but cry. I don't want to answer all these messages. What should I do? And Jeff told her, he said, well, Bonnie couldn't visit, but she could call the hospital twice a day and get updates. And so Jeff told her, just send me those updates when you get them. I'll put them on the church's Facebook page for anybody that might be interested. It went viral, to say the least. Thousands of people were following those updates daily. I'm not known by that many people, but I think it was a face and a name. Like you said, it was so secretive.
Yeah.
So it allowed people to get daily updates on somebody that actually had it, or has it at that point. And I kind of became the poster child for COVID, at least in Hawkinsville and the surrounding area.
The mid-state.
The mid-state, and just thousands of people, even to this day. Almost every day, I'll have somebody come up to me and say, you don't know me, I don't know you, but boy, we prayed for you. And you know, that's touching. It really is. It's very humbling, and I really appreciate it because I think God honored those prayers.
Now, the rest of this has to be through the eyes of your wife. Tell us what she was going through those 40 days.
Yeah, again, it was very tough. No visitation. She was quarantined because I had it. She never showed a symptom. My daughter came home and was staying with her. My daughter lives in Atlanta, but she was home staying with Bonnie, but they had to stay separate. My son was quarantined in Macon. None of them ever showed a symptom, but because of me, they had to be quarantined. And so they're going through all this. All they could do was twice a day call the Coliseum. The nurses may or may not answer the phone, depending on how busy they were. And a lot of times they did not have good news to report. So it was real tough. I got a copy of the medical records, the hospital reports, and on April 11th is the one that stood out to me. The summary was poor prognosis, comfort care, discuss future with family. And so that's what they were going through. You know, comfort care, that's hospitalese for wait for them to die. And they pretty much gave up on me. Now, let me qualify that. The nurses nor the doctors ever really gave up on me. They kept trying different medicines, and I was on so many medicines. But, and to this day, they can't really tell me what worked and what didn't. But between them and between God, I'm still here. So Bonnie and them, my wife and children, they're the ones that had it rough. I just took a nap. I didn't have any memories, any dreams, anything during that whole time. But my family had to endure it every day.
What are some of the other things they had to do to survive?
Just, you know, my family, they really survived on their faith because that's all they had. Bonnie was at least taking the same medicine regimen that I was on. But she was stuck at home like everybody else was during that time period. And she just she did a lot of praying, an awful lot. And when they would get the nurses on the phone, they would pray for them. And some of you may have seen on WMAZ where Kristen, my daughter, wrote a letter to the nurses just thanking them. And they did a little piece on that. But Kristen was trying hard to personalize me to the nurses because she knew they had a wing full of sedated bodies, and she wanted them to have an investment in me. So I really appreciate that.
Be ready for anything.
Right. Apparently, when I woke up, I may not have been the best patient in the world. And Kristen got all over me one day. She said, Daddy, I have told these nurses you are a fine, kind Christian gentleman. She said, quit proving me wrong. So I apparently gave them a fit, but I really don't remember it.
Now, after you woke up, you were there how much longer?
Right before I was discharged from the Coliseum, which I'd been awake for about 10 days, they told me I was going to be transferred to Augusta for 3 to 6 months.
That's what I'd heard.
Right. And the next day, a bed opened up across the street at Regency. And so instead of going to Augusta, they sent me to Regency. But I was only at Regency for 10 days. And then I was transferred to Bleckley Memorial Hospital in Cochran. And the reason they transferred me is because Cochran's so much closer to Hawkinsville, and I knew some people there, and it was easier on my family. So they sent me to Cochran. I was in Cochran for 7 days, and then I got to go home. So 17 days rather than 3 to 6 months.
Do you have any idea how you contracted this?
Not a bit. I had a business meeting in Jekyll Island the weekend before, and then the week before I got sick, and then the weekend before I got sick was Peaches to Beaches, and so I was walking around Hawkinsville to all the different vendors from all over Georgia. There's no telling, but I don't have a clue where I got it. But it was apparently a pretty bad case, but I'm still here.
You made an appearance at the church one Sunday not too long ago. Got to tell the folks there how much you appreciated them.
Well,
you had the Coliseum Park people down too.
I did. Kristen, again, trying to personalize me to the nurses, had told them that I teach Sunday school at Broad Street. And she told them, when Daddy gets back doing that, we're going to invite you to a Sunday school lesson. Well, my church is not doing Sunday school yet, but we are meeting back at the church. And so our pastor let me have the service, and we kind of did a healthcare appreciation day. And we invited the nurses of all the hospitals that took care of me. And I was just shocked. Healthcare workers are heroes, because I was shocked. About 5 or 6 nurses from the Coliseum that took care of me came all the way from Macon down to Hawkinsville on their day off, and it gave me a chance to say thank you, because they were incredible. So representatives from Taylor were there, and Bleckley Memorial and Coliseum, and that meant the world to me. They didn't have to, here they are supporting a former patient that they hadn't seen in some 2 months, but they drove all the way to Hawkinsville on a Sunday to support me, and I really appreciated that. People don't do that because it's a job.
I listened to that sermon at home on the computer, and as you were leaving Coliseum, you had a young lady, probably the least of all the trained people that worked with you, was pushing you out to the ambulance. And you told that story about what happened then.
When I was being transferred from the Coliseum to Regency, it's across the street, but I still had to have an ambulance. I was in a wheelchair.
Got to pad that bill up, don't we?
Well, yeah, certainly do. But the young female EMT, I've got to get her name, but right when we got to the double doors at Regency, she stopped and she pushed me about 10 feet over to the side to a little retaining wall. And she said, just enjoy the fresh air for a minute. And I sat there about 10 minutes and just breathed. It was wonderful, because I had been in ICU for 40-something days, and I was fixing to what I thought was 3 to 6 months be to a hospital. And just to have that time outside, she didn't have to do that. That was above and beyond.
Sounds like she's getting into the right business for her.
I think so. She's got the heart for it, and I need to send her a thank you card. I have not done that yet because I don't know her name, but I do know which ambulance company, and I do plan on doing that.
Do your doctors have it figured out now how the rest of your life's going to be?
I think I'm going to be okay. My lung doctor has cleared me. Heart doctor's cleared me. Kidney doctor has cleared me. Neurologist has cleared me. My only lasting effect is I've got some nerve damage in my right foot.
How would that happen? I didn't.
I had a pressure wound on the bottom of my foot from the ICU bed.
Yeah.
They were more concerned about keeping me alive than every inch of me. So I developed that pressure wound, and it apparently damaged some nerves. And also COVID is known to damage nerves, so they're not sure exactly what caused it. But I can walk now just fine. By the end of the day, I've got a slight limp, and it hurts a lot. But most of the doctors are telling me that within a year, it should go away and I should be 100%. I play tennis here in Macon once a week. And of course, since this start, I hadn't been able to play tennis, and with my foot right now, I'm still concerned, but I'm ready to get back up here at John Drew and play some more tennis.
Folks, I have Shelly on the Facebook page, one of their friends. Shelly every day puts out a little, what do you call these things, Shelly?
They've been called Shellyisms, but they're just little. About 10 years ago, I posted something funny on Facebook. I don't know why I did it, but something funny. And my 2 kids at the time went ballistic. And they're like, Daddy, no, you're embarrassing us. So I'm like, okay. So I started doing one every day just to bug my kids. And it kind of caught on. And so now people expect it every day. So eventually I put them in a book form. Kristen sent these books to all the nurses at every hospital I visited, again, trying to personalize me to them. And so, yeah, we've got these books that we're just funnyisms. I used to be a lifeguard, but some blue kid got me fired. I'll never ever again take a laxative and a sedative at the same time. Yeah, little funny things like that, which we do one a day. It's just something I do for fun.
And you put them out in book form now.
We've got three different books actually. There's two of them there.
Oh, we got another one.
And we've got one more, which is just 1,000 of them Facebook funnies. I called that one. I called it a little bit different. But these are more daily diaries, place where you can write daily notes and so forth, and the funny for the day. But the third book is just all of them combined, just in a list form.
And how can they get one of these, or two of them?
Amazon.
Or three of them. Amazon?
Yeah, just go to Amazon, type in my name, Shelly Berryhill, and they'll pop right up.
Well, we thought we were going to lose these for a while. I don't know how I could have lived without them, Shelly.
Well, if I failed to post one every day, I get phone calls. So thank you. But I've started back. I missed about 4 months, but I've started back posting one a day. So friend me up on Facebook, and you can get them that way too, free.
Have the bills started to roll in yet about your medical care?
Oh, they have. Through this experience, I visited 4 hospitals, 3 ambulance rides, hundreds of doctors, and the reason I know it's hundreds because every one of them is sending me a bill. Nurses, and while I was at Coliseum, I was having some seizures, and they didn't know why. So I was getting MRIs, CAT scans, EEGs, EKGs, every other day. So I haven't got all those bills yet, but I've got good insurance though. The Lord's going to take care of me. I'm okay on that, but somebody's going to make some money off of Shelly.
What's your life worth?
Exactly.
Or what is life worth, really?
Regardless of what the medical bills are, I'm just so glad I'm here. They took care of me.
Well, you were away from your commission duties. The city, in Hawkinsville, they have commissioners rather than city council people.
That's correct.
And so you got welcome back there. What was that like?
Oh, it was great. They didn't miss a beat while I was gone. They took care of everything and welcomed me back. So it was really nice to get back in the saddle again. And I think I missed maybe 3 meetings is all I actually missed because we meet once a month. And so as soon as I got back, the first meeting was on Zoom, and I was there. So it's good to be back.
What's happening in Hawkinsville?
Oh man, great things are happening in Hawkinsville. We're an Archway community, which is a partnership with the University of Georgia, where we and they have helped us with so many things, such as revitalizing our downtown. We had an old Taylor Hospital that has recently been converted into 64 2, 3, and 4 bedroom apartments.
Saved that building.
It saved an old dilapidated building. It's brought people into downtown, and it's been great. And it's fully, there's a waiting list now to get in. They're all occupied. We, several years ago, on the other end of town, renovated our old cotton mill into apartments. They're full. Again, our downtown's being renovated. We've sold our spec building. We're fixing to build a new city hall. We've got every rural town in Georgia is hurting. It's a tough time, but we're in great shape for the shape we're in. We really are. Good things are happening in Hawkinsville, and we've got the same struggles everybody else does, but we're doing good. We're in good shape for the shape we're in.
Hawkinsville is some 50 miles south of Macon. You go through Warner Robins. And then,
Warner Robins or Perry.
Yeah.
You take the Perry exit on 75. We've got antique malls. We've got historic homes and tours and an old opera house where we have monthly events. And come on down and see us. We love our Hawkinsville.
You got those famous twin bridges.
Yes, we have 2 bridges, and that brings a lot of traffic through our town.
I was going to say that river crossing, the next one north is here in Macon. That's how far you got to go, so you can save some time going through Hawkinsville.
And they're right on the edge of our town, so you're coming through downtown. We don't have a bypass in Hawkinsville. because of those bridges, which is wonderful.
They've just been rebuilt.
Rebuild, about an $89 million project, I think, and they're brand new, great bridges.
Do you have any idea why you have two instead of one?
I don't. When they were determined that they needed to be replaced, there was some that wanted to go to a single bridge, but we thought that we were known for the twin bridges, so we kind of argued against that, and DOT was gracious enough to allow us to keep the two.
I know some of the other communities in the mid-state say they're the crossroads, but you guys truly are. All of these state routes come through Hawkinsville.
One of our nicknames is Hub City because it's so many major highways, because that's how they get across the river. So they come to Hawkinsville to get across that river.
I remember years ago when I was at WMAZ covering the beginning of the horse stables.
Mm-hmm.
The
Harness track.
The harness track, and that's owned by the municipal government.
Yes, the city owns that.
That's unique.
We're the harness horse training capital of Georgia. We have an annual event, a harness festival, where we have real races, qualifying races. That the trainers from up north will come here for their winter, and because of our better weather and a great track and barns. And so they house here for the winter, they train the horses, and then they go back for the racing season. And we've had some really high dollar winners that have been trained in Hawkinsville. So we're real proud of that training facility.
That's an industry that's been hit, the harness, because up in Ohio, they've had to shut things down.
Yeah, a lot of it has been hit, but that's been good and bad for us. It's a dying industry altogether, but so many winter training facilities in Florida have shut down, they're coming to us. So we house anywhere between 2 and 250 horses a year, and so it's a good little industry for us.
You're also affiliated with the school system.
I'm technology director for Pulaski County Board of Education. We've got a small school system, K through 12 and pre-K through 12 in Hawkinsville, about 1,300 students, and we opened up today. In fact, was our first day back, so we're hard at work. I probably should be there and not here. But we were ready, and a lot of apprehension this year because of COVID. You know, how do we do it? We've done all we can do. We're wearing masks. We're doing the social distancing. We're allowing distant learning for those that want to. About 14% of our population has chosen to do the distance learning. We're taking temperature before they get on the bus. We're taking temperatures before they come in the school building. We're doing all we can. And we think safety comes first, so we're trying hard.
How much of that involves your department?
Just not a whole lot. The distance learning, of course, does. We bought some very expensive software to handle the distance learning. We've got Chromebooks in every classroom, and last year you would just pick up a random Chromebook and use. This year, because of COVID, each student gets a Chromebook at the beginning of the day, and they use that same Chromebook throughout the day, so that there's not as much touching each other's stuff. So it's involved us a good bit.
How is that financed? Locally or by the state? Or
locally, we've bought almost all of ours through Splosh dollars. We have an educational Splosh in Hawkinsville, and it's paid for almost all the Chromebooks. We've got about 1,400 Chromebooks in our system.
Are you a lifelong resident of Hawkinsville?
All my life. 55 years so far. Thought this might be the last one, but it turned out not to be. But been there all my life, was born there, hope to one day be buried there. I'm just glad it's not this year.
You know, a lot of changes in your lifetime down there.
Oh yeah. Hawkinsville we're progressing, we're growing, but we're doing it at a very steady, controlled pace. We've got a great local hospital. We've got a good many amenities, and for a lot of places to eat, especially for a town our size. Hawkinsville is about 4,000 people. The county's about 12,000. So we're a small community, and we are growing, but we're doing it under a very controlled path. So we're a small town, and we don't want to lose that charm.
You know, there's always talk about eventually getting pari-mutuel betting on horses.
Sure.
That would be a boon to Hawkinsville, wouldn't it?
It would. I don't think it would actually, we would have racetracks here, but it would certainly be a boon to the training facility to train the horses that are racing outside of Atlanta or wherever the tracks end up being. So that would be a good thing for us financially. Not sure for the state of Georgia if that's the way to go, but if they choose to go that way, we'll certainly enjoy some benefits from it.
I can't remember how many years ago, but it seemed like it was real close at one time. That it was.
It comes up
Yeah,
every
once in
year
a
at the
while, yeah.
legislature, but they've never, I think every year it gets closer. So at some point, it'll happen.
Hawkinsville was a real big sports town too.
We've got 6 state football championships and multiple in other sports as well, but of course, like most small towns, football is king. And we've had 6 state championships, and we love our football. We love our Friday night lights.
Well, it's amazing what the Falcons mean to Atlanta or the Bulldogs mean to Athens. These high school teams mean to every one of these towns in South Georgia.
Hawkinsville Red Devils, #1. Absolutely.
Where do you see the town going now? You got a lot of things in the ground starting to grow. What's next?
We're still actively trying to grow our industrial park, bringing in more jobs. We recently had our largest private firm, Hollingsworth and Vose, did a $100 million expansion in Hawkinsville. That's large for any town. It's humongous for Hawkinsville. And they added 70 jobs, and again, a huge investment. And so they're growing, and that's what we're trying to do at this point. We're always looking for new industry, but we're also trying to help our existing industry. It all comes down to jobs. When you've got jobs, the amenities follow, the support industries come in. You just got to have those jobs to support it.
You've got businesses there that came from somewhere else. Obviously, the attraction to Hawkinsville meant a lot to them.
Oh, absolutely. We're a bedroom community for the base in Warner Robins.
Yeah, we got to mention that.
Yeah, and of course for Macon, and so we're just a bedroom community, but people love to come there. It's a quaint, charming town. You don't have the traffic that you do in Warner Robins and in Macon, and you don't have but yet you've got great places to eat, and you know your neighbor, and it's real nice. And of course we have one of our biggest tourist attractions is both Harris Country Meats and M&T Meats.
Oh.
And people come from all over for those 2 places. So we've got some of the finest meats available, and sausages and everything else in Georgia. Used to, when I traveled, Hawkinsville, that's the harness horses, right? And now when I travel, it's Hawkinsville, that's M&T Meats, right? So we're proud of our local businesses.
A little bit of meat heaven there.
Yes.
If you haven't
Yes.
been there, you'll know what I mean
Yes.
and what Shelly means, because it's an amazing down there. And the sausage over at the other place is great.
Yeah, Harris has got great sauce. They both do. Both of them are good at everything, but that's worth the trip to Hawkinsville.
Your restaurants, you mentioned it earlier, but you have several restaurants that people from Macon drive.
Absolutely. We have our newest business is the Rustic Bistro, which is quaint dining, lunch every day. We have the Hawkinsville Horseshoe, which is a country buffet. We've got the Steakhouse, which is another country buffet and steaks.
The world famous steakhouse.
World famous steakhouse. And plus, we have our own barbecue and pizza places and so forth. But Hawkinsville, again, is worth the travel just to eat. Come eat with us.
One of my favorite spots, right across from the Horseshoe, that redwood tree.
We have the largest redwood tree on this side of the Mississippi. It was donated to the city. We own the tree and the little, about a 10 by 10 parcel around it now. We've put up a little plaque, but it's the largest redwood on this side of the Mississippi.
It's amazing. It's only a baby. What is it, 100 and some years old?
Yeah.
That's a baby.
Yeah.
And during one of the storms, I went down there, and it towers above your regular canopy.
It does. It does. It's a beautiful tree. There's so much that I love about our town. And again, I could sit here all day and tell you, come see us.
And you're on the river. I mean,
we're on the river, the Opera House, the harness training. We have ag tours. We're also home of Hardy Farm peanuts.
that's right.
So if you stop at a peanut stand around here to buy your bag of boiled peanuts, it probably came from Hardy Farms. Again, we're in good shape for the shape we're in.
And all those beautiful antebellum homes.
Yes. In Georgia, you always hear Madison when,
Yeah.
when you hear about beautiful homes. Madison's got nothing on us. We've got as many beautiful homes as Madison does, and we're just not as recognized for that as Madison is, but Hawkinsville's got them.
That's truthful too. Those houses are wonderful. Well, Shelly Berryhill, thank you, and I'm glad you're still around to be with us.
I'm glad to be seen, and it's better to be seen than viewed. So I'm glad to be here.
Thanks for being with us on the Middle Georgia Spotlight.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, everybody. I'm Ron Wildman here at WMUB TV.